In a world where economic and energy dynamics are evolving at dizzying speed, the question arises: how to react when the foundations on which we have built our present begin to transform under our feet? Whether through the rise of Canada as a key gas supplier or the massive adoption of electric vehicles. These changes are not simply technical phenomena, but challenges that affect our values, our choices, and our future. In this video, we'll explore how the European Union, United States, Canada, and the energy transition are shaping our world, while drawing on spiritual wisdom to understand how to navigate these storms in a calm and resilient way. Stay with us, as this journey will invite you to think deeply about adaptability and the choices available to us in this era of transformation. Now 1. The strategic choice of the European Union. The global energy market is a complex terrain where alliances, agreements, and power dynamics often dictate economic trajectories. The European Union, EU, formerly dependent on the United States for its natural gas imports, has made an important strategic choice that reflects a broader reality. The fluctuation of global markets and the incessant quest for competitiveness. The EU's shift toward increased Russian gas in a world where energy dependence is the subject of incessant geopolitical debates. Canada's ability to offer a viable and secure alternative to Russian and American gas has become a strategic asset. Through this project, but also by strengthening its commercial relations with European states, Canada has seized a unique opportunity to solidify its place in the global energy market. This development marks a new stage in the diversification of supply sources and highlights the complex dynamics that govern international trade. History. Think of a local artisan who, at the beginning of his career, is content to sell his products domestically. Over time, his reputation grew, and his creations began to attract attention beyond the borders of his city. As demand increases, the artisan is forced to adapt, expand production, and seek new distribution channels to meet this growing demand. What started as a local business became an international business. Relationships with new business partners, logistical challenges, and the need to innovate to maintain a competitive advantage are transforming its business into a key player on the global stage. Canada, through its projects like LNG Canada, has taken a similar path, moving from a primarily local supplier to a leading player in the global energy market. What are the implications for a country when it becomes a major supplier in an international market? Can rapid export growth lead to internal challenges, particularly in terms of regulation, sustainability, or even dependence on foreign markets? And how can a country maintain a balance between its economic development and its energy sovereignty in this increasingly interconnected global context? 3. The impact on American exports. The impact of the European Union's shift in energy imports is having profound implications for US exports. This change, of course, which has seen Russian and Canadian gas imports supplant those from the United States, is not simply a question of supply volume. It also touches on broader geopolitical issues, influencing America's economic position on the world stage. For the United States, this means it must reevaluate its role as a major energy supplier, especially for a market as strategic as Europe. The EU, a historic and critical trading partner for US natural gas exports, represents a significant market loss. This loss is not only economic, it is also symbolic of a change in global energy preferences. As a result, the United States is being forced to review its trade strategies, seeking new export markets and exploring options to strengthen the competitiveness of its energy industries. Diversification becomes essential not only to offset losses from declining exports to Europe, but also to maintain the dominant position of the United States in the global energy market. In this context, the United States must also rethink its approach to energy policy, ensuring that its exports remain competitive against new players like Canada and Russia. They find themselves in a position where innovation and the search for new alliances will be crucial to maintain a central place in the supply of energy on a global scale. This development requires the United States to rethink its long-term energy strategy while adjusting its approach according to needs and market fluctuations. History. Imagine a farmer whose crops have long been exported in large quantities to other regions. His product is sought after and loved, and he has built a thriving business. But one day, a new regulation or a change in consumer preferences means that his crops find fewer takers. Old markets that were once reliable are no longer as open. The farmer finds himself in a delicate situation. Faced with this drop in demand, it is forced to look for new markets for its products. It may need to adapt its production methods or even diversify its crops to meet new demands. It is a period of transition where he will have to demonstrate creativity, innovation, and perseverance. This story illustrates the situation in which the United States finds itself, which must now diversify its markets and adjust its trade strategies according to changing global energy preferences. How do businesses adapt to changes in international markets to maintain their competitiveness? When key markets begin to shift away or diversify, what strategies should companies adopt to avoid losing their place in global competition? 4. Electric vehicles at the heart of the energy transition. In the current context of the global energy transition, the rise of electric vehicles, EVs, occupies a central place. EVs are not only seen as a greener alternative to combustion engine vehicles, but also as a fundamental pillar for achieving global climate goals. Their growing adoption represents a concrete way to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, which are at the heart of the global climate crisis. However, beyond the environmental benefits, the transition to electric vehicles also raises complex issues related to energy production, necessary infrastructure, and international cooperation. Canada and the United States, for example, have recently implemented initiatives to drive EV adoption by creating cross-border corridors for the supply of alternative fuels. These initiatives not only facilitate the infrastructure needed for vehicle charging, but also contribute to a more integrated approach to the energy transition between these two nations. This type of collaboration shows that the transition to electric vehicles can only be successful if it is based on international cooperation and a shared vision between the countries concerned. The development of such infrastructure becomes a key point to encourage the mass adoption of EVs and accelerate the reduction of emissions on a global scale. However, although the enthusiasm for electric vehicles is undeniable, many challenges remain. Charging infrastructure, the production of clean electricity to power these vehicles, and the raw materials needed to manufacture batteries are fundamental questions to be resolved. The energy transition towards carbon-free mobility requires a profound reorganization of our energy and transport systems. And while this transition offers considerable opportunities for companies and nations that succeed in positioning themselves as leaders in this area, it also imposes new responsibilities and new challenges. History. Imagine a city where residents, for centuries, relied on horses to get around. Every street is filled with these animals which, although majestic, are also synonymous with slowness and logistical constraints. One day, the automobile appeared. At first, the locals are skeptical, convinced that their horse-based way of life is the best solution. But as automobiles become more accessible and roads expand to accommodate them, a sea change is taking place. In just a few years, residents massively adopted the automobile, transforming not only their travel, but also the environment around them. The streets are now dominated by cars, Stables are becoming obsolete, and a new era of mobility and productivity is beginning. This transition from one era to another, although complex and fraught with pitfalls, became a major turning point in the history of the city. In the same way, the transition to electric vehicles stands out today as a necessary and inevitable revolution, which transforms not only the way we move, but also the way we interact with our environment. What are the challenges and opportunities associated with the transition to electric vehicles globally? How can nations overcome barriers related to infrastructure and energy production while maximizing economic and environmental benefits? 5. Spiritual reflection on change and adaptation. In a constantly changing world, whether in terms of energy dynamics, commercial relations, or technological developments, it is essential to cultivate adaptability and resilience. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, highlighted these fundamental qualities through his teachings. He constantly reminded his disciples of the importance of adjusting to trials and transformations, of accepting change as an integral part of life, and of always seeking to progress with faith and wisdom. In an increasingly complex global context, these principles offer us valuable guidance for navigating the challenges of our time. The Prophet, peace be upon him, often emphasized that life is full of ups and downs, and it is our duty to respond to these fluctuations with patience and perseverance. In the context of the energy transition and economic changes that we observe today, it is crucial to understand that these transformations are not only technological or economic adjustments, but that they also affect the foundations of our way of living, of our interactions with nature and with each other. We must remember that the challenges we face today are temporary, and that by following spiritual principles, we can not only adapt, but also learn profound lessons for a better future. In the field of energy, this change can be seen as a call for personal and collective transformation. As the Prophet, peace be upon him, taught us, it is not enough to wait for circumstances to change, but it is up to us to adopt a proactive attitude, seek solutions in adversity, and strengthen our bonds with those who share our values. Adaptability in the face of challenges is a central principle of spiritual development, and it finds its relevance in our ability to embrace change while remaining firm in our convictions. History. Imagine a fisherman who, every day, takes his boat to fish on the rich, fish-filled waters of his lake. However, over time, the waters begin to shrink, the river dries up, and fish become scarce. Faced with this situation, the fisherman does not give up. Instead of lamenting the loss of his usual resources,